And we're recording.
The clap. Welcome back. It's Lit Book Reviews. I'm Shia LaBeef. With me, as always, is Harrison Ford F-150. And we are here to do another one with you. How you doing, Ford Motor Company?
I'm doing good, man. We have now read 2 heavy hitter series, finished what is out there. So, curious to see where the next book
pretty
takes
hyped
us.
for this one. We're recording this in, what is it, second week of January, and it's snowing. We're both down in the southeast, and we have snow all over the place. I thought it was a lie, dude. I didn't think it was going to snow. But here we are.
Yeah, it's a lot. Is it a lot where you are? It's at least a couple inches over here.
Yeah, it was definitely when I woke up this morning. I woke up pretty early, and it was thick and still snowing. I say thick for down here. Now it's just kind of slush everywhere, and there's still snow. But if you walk on it, it's water.
Have you taken Rush out? Have you already gone outside? I haven't been out yet.
Yeah, I've taken him out a few times. Yeah, he doesn't like it very much. He doesn't like his feet getting wet, and he keeps like constantly. I think he's getting like nose in his nostrils.
Like, what is going on?
Or getting snow. I said nose, getting snow in his nostrils. But anyway, here we are. Speaking of the snow, no, there's no transition there.
Yeah. It's a shame we finished this book though. This would be perfect weather to read a book like this. That's why I want to start a fantasy now, man. Because it's like, as much as I love reading about 1923 Germany, it's just cozying up by the fire. It doesn't hit the same as conquering worlds in the galaxy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So yeah, that being said, Conquering Worlds. We are today talking about Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. This is the 6th book in the Red Rising saga. We finally read it. This book came out like a year or two ago. Yeah, July 2023, so a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
that was probably around the time that we actually started the series. Was about a year and a half ago. I feel like.
We read them all this past year.
Did we?
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, we started.
Maybe
we read them all like in the summer. We have not done a single video on this series.
No, we haven't, which is crazy. Because this is,
yeah.
This is one of my favorite series, and it's I like one of yours as well. And we haven't talked about it really at all. So yeah, Red Rising, Pierce Brown. This is the 6th book in that series, Lightbringer. It's got 59,000 ratings on Goodreads with a 4.75. So let's just really briefly, to try to keep it, kosher.
4.75 is crazy, bro.
It's crazy, dude. 60,000 ratings, 4.75. I'm not surprised. So we're going to do a really quick spoiler-free review in like a minute and a half. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I thought it was amazing. If you have not read any of this series, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you have read up through Dark Age and not Lightbringer, even more so, what are you doing? It's time to read Lightbringer. It was amazing. It was well written. Some of the best character development, especially for one character in particular, in the entire series. Possibly one of the toughest moments in the series as well, man. But it was so, well, we'll talk about it in spoiler. Yeah. There's a lot of great things in this book. You should definitely reading this series. Definitely read this book if you're reading the series. Hell Reaper and Hell Libertas. What else is there to be said? What's your non-spoiler thoughts? What'd you give it?
What I wrote on Goodreads, and what I texted you too, is just what Pierce does differently. So just for context for us, we just finished Stormlight before we read this. So we finished book 5 of Stormlight. So we're coming off of an all-time great series. We had already read Dark Age though before we read Knights of Wind and Truth, or just Wind and Truth, sorry.
Yeah.
So that was what we'd already have that kind of writing. So coming into this, it's like, oh, it's going to be a letdown, and it's like, wait, is this better? We'll get into that later on too, but
we will.
This series, his ability to just have consistent action, but to compare it to something else that we finished this year in The Fury of the Gods, that book is consistent action, but it felt like it went nowhere. It was like not thought out, at least in our opinions. There were some good things in there, like the action was cool, but like whenever there's not meaning and purpose and like stakes behind it, that's been like well well written out and like well escalated, it doesn't really matter. Whereas he like somehow escalates things perfectly to where things are just, I mean, they're
It's
in
so
dire need at all times, and you're like, you're
yeah.
scared for every character, like basically the whole time in the book. And I think
Yeah.
his spacings between, I think there's 4 parts. Dude, I wish more authors would do, like, I read some reviews and some people don't like it, but essentially he continues what he's done before, where anytime there needs to be like a time gap period to where the storyline makes sense of like people either gathering troops or like learning how to fight or whatever.
Traveling, yeah.
Yeah, he just skips. Like, and then it's like,
Mhm.
all right, now we've gone ahead a couple months, and it's like, all right, now
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know. And then it gives you
Dude,
a
he'll do
chance.
it sometimes in, like, paragraph to paragraph, he'll
Yeah.
jump forward, like, weeks or months, like, in
Hmm.
just a paragraph, and I think I agree with you, I think that's
I like
great.
the way he does it. I'm sure. I mean, like we've said many times before, we're not even like other booktubers. We don't claim to like really truly know
Yeah, we
the,
have
the
no
ins and
idea.
outs of
We're just
literature.
enjoying reading.
We don't know
Yeah.
why it works so well, because I know other authors probably do it, and it's like, wait, we're way over here now. What happened? But whatever Pierce does, it makes sense with how his time jumps go. But this book is not. I would say Dark Age. I mean, hence the title. I would say it was a darker book. Would you say the same? Like, this book is still like dark, but
Yeah, I think Darker Age, I think Dark Age was definitely the low point for a lot of your POV characters in the story, this book was like a recovery from that to a degree.
yeah,
In some ways it wasn't, I guess, but yeah, I would agree with you. I mean,
you get the boys back, which like I don't think that's a spoiler to say, but it's like there's more encouraging things that happen, which I mean that doesn't discount the extremely discouraging things that Pierce is
yeah,
still capable of doing.
yeah,
But
yeah, non-spoiler, you get some really nice payoffs and you get some really hurtful ones, but that are still so good in some ways. So it's just one of those things, man. What I told you the other day and what I'll say non-spoiler is, again, we just came off Wind and Truth, and that's one of my favorite series of all time. But I've always said on this channel and when talking to friends or whomever about fantasy that what I love about sci-fi fantasy is the world building and like
yeah,
putting pieces of the past together. And the thing about Stormlight is that that's kind of what it is, especially the book we just read. Wind and Truth is basically a world building book, the culmination of thousands and thousands of pages of work. um, and obviously the character work is great in Stormlight. So let me preface by saying I love the characters in Stormlight. But for me, when I think of Stormlight, I'm thinking of the world building and answering
yeah,
the questions and getting to the bottom of it. When I think of the Red Rising series, I am thinking about the characters, dude. Like
yeah.
I care about them so much. I want to know what's going to happen. I want them to be safe, or I want some of them to not. Um,
And the
and the world
politics
building's
too.
still great. The politics, yeah, it's very yeah, it's like Game of Thrones-esque with the politics, which you and I always enjoy. So, these are just so well written, man, and I read a lot of ancient history, and Pierce
Hmm.
Brown clearly, I mean, it's obvious on the surface because he's using a lot of Roman names and things like that. But even some of the little comments he makes and little different rituals that he throws in to the Gold's lifestyle are straight out of Roman or Greek history, whatever it may be. Mostly Roman, I think, from what I've picked up on. So the writing is just so good, man. Like I don't know who
Yeah.
wouldn't enjoy it. The one thing I will say is if you happen to be watching this and you've only read Red Rising, the first book, please know that the rest of the series is not like that. I enjoyed Red Rising, but it was like that was it. I enjoyed it. If it had been a standalone, I wouldn't have really thought of it again. It's
Yeah,
books 2 and on that really make this series what it is, which looking back is kinda crazy because I
dude,
saw
it's
on
so
Reddit the
different.
other day that Pierce Brown's original plan was to just have this just be a trilogy, which
Mm.
would which is crazy to think about. Like, I do still I'll have to reread the series to really decide which is which. 2 and 3 still might be, like,
Yeah,
so strong and incomparable, but it'd be crazy if this series hadn't got this other half of the 6 books we have so far. So, anyway, you
I
should definitely
agree.
read it. Anything else you wanna say non-spoiler?
Um, no, yeah, I mean it's definitely everything. I mean, you get Darrow, a lot of Darrow. I think this is way more Darrow than, if you're someone who I wanted to see personally, and I saw some reviews of this too. I wanted to see more of Virginia, um, and Severo's wife, Victra. Which I mean,
Mhm.
if you want to see them, you're not really going to see them a lot in this book, but it is more just setting up for for the next book, I think. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been waiting for Darrow and Severo, I mean, you get a lot of them in this book. So
now's your chance. All right, cool. We're gonna head into spoilers. If you have not read Lightbringer or any other Red Rising books, go ahead and check out. So 3, 2, 1. We are in spoilers. It's your fault if you're still here, bro. So I finished this last night. I mean, I'm
I think
not
you did
all
what I
right,
did,
dude.
where you read the last 200 pages. Like I got to,
Yeah,
I can't remember what
I
point it
did.
was, but I was like, I'm gonna have to stay up, and I stayed up till like 1 a.m. to
Yeah.
finish it.
Well, what's crazy, dude, is I literally right when I got home from work, I was reading. So I actually finished it before midnight. Like I was done at like right before midnight. I read for like 6 hours straight. So yeah, I read the last really big chunk all at once. But dude, I mean Cassius, dude, I I knew it was gonna happen, bro.
As soon
I
as they
kept
had that
saying
bro
it,
talk, I was like,
dude.
this ain't
Like, bro, this
good.
is it, bro. This is it for Cassius. But so that stuck. That I feel like that's the obvious thing that
Did you think Lysander was gonna
sticks
do it
with
like
you.
that though? I thought somehow Atlas was gonna see what was going on and just I thought he was gonna die, but I didn't
Yeah.
think
Once it
Lysander was
started
gonna
happening,
betray
yeah.
him. You did?
Yeah, I thought Atlas was gonna get the better of him. I thought so
Oh,
you
okay.
remember how in the fight you're stuck with Lysander and Roan for a
Yeah.
second?
Yeah.
I thought, dude, Lysander's gonna pick his head up and Cassius is gonna be dead.
Mm,
Like like his head's gonna be
yeah.
gone. But no, dude, his hand's gone. Atlas's scalp is like hanging by a thread. It's like, bro. But so here's what I just want to get this part out of the way. This whole piece of Cassius and his death. It's beautiful for Cassius's character. I will say I still gave this book 5 out of 5. I think it's amazing. I can't say I would have done it better. I don't know if it completely makes sense for Lysander to have
Dude,
done
I
that
was thinking the
way.
same. I was like, why
Like, I
did he
don't know
double
if that
down?
adds up. Like,
I
it's
don't think it does either. But you need a
like
villain.
Cassius, bro, you were with him for a decade. He raised you. Like, you're just and it's here's the other
And he's
thing, is he didn't
changed
just
too.
shoot him, bro. He shot him like 16 times.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I
which I
mean,
guess he had armor and stuff on, but like, geez.
I think he had to make it look like it was a fight because Cassius just lets him kill him,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he knows he's gonna die
well, I mean, I
because
think
he's not gonna
it's more
leave
of a
him with a
like,
chemical weapon,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. So I mean, but the thing is you have not that you never didn't have respect for Cassius, but the last time you see him in, I guess is it Iron
Iron
Gold where
Gold,
he
yeah. Yeah,
dies.
you think he dies? Yeah.
I don't he was kinda in that, like, emo arc where, whereas when he comes back, like, he all of a sudden has this, like, renewed vigor to, like, not only
Mhm.
help out Darrow and everybody, but to, like once he hears what the track Lysander's gone on, like, obviously, throughout this book, he takes personal, like, that's the only thing
Yeah,
that'll get to him when, like, Severus trying to make fun of him or whatever. So you can
yeah.
tell he actually wants to truly believe in Lysander, and then with Diomedes doing the same thing, it's like, all right, you have two characters that are seen as honorable, like in two different ways with Cassius and um,
Yeah.
Diomedes. And it's like, all right, if they're going to vouch for Lysander, it's like, all right, maybe Lysander will like see reason. Because for the most part, he has
That's even
kind of
what Darrow
done.
says, bro. Remember that? When Darrow's
Yeah.
with Diomedes and he goes, "Surely Cassius and Diomedes can't have both been wrong about Lysander." And you're sitting there already knowing that Cassius is dead, and it's just oh,
Mm-mm.
dude, it's so tough.
I feel bad for Diomedes, man. I mean, obviously you feel
Oh,
terrible for Darrow and Severo too, but I don't know. It's like Diomedes is just like,
Diomedes got
like
shafted more than
you
anybody.
can tell it broke his heart that Lysander did what he did when like he comes
Oh,
on the
yeah.
like little,
Yeah,
Zoom
he, like,
call
has
for what it
tears in
looks.
his eyes,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, I can't believe you've, like in his, I can just, that hurt for me for Diomedes. Cause he, like I told you before, he was like the rising star of Lightbringer to me. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah,
plays
I
a huge
agree.
role, and I loved that he got way more time.
Yeah, he was super great. Dude, what just happened? Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Yeah, I enjoyed Diomedes. But yeah, to get the Cassius stuff out of the way, it was so tough seeing that. So tough the aftermath, bro. I mean, Pierce has this way of being
Well,
anti like everybody says if you don't see a body in fantasy, the character's not dead. Pierce Brown
yeah.
is so like, yeah, here's the body. It's in shambles, dude. It's an absolute sham. It wasn't as bad as F frame, but it's like, dude,
Dude,
I don't want to see Cassius like that,
I
bro. That was
think
so tough.
I think it's gonna come back to bite him with his, because obviously he has to frame it as he was attacked by an assassin, obviously, and then that's why he
Yeah.
sends what's her face away, the pilot that was with Cassius. I should know her name,
Python. Yeah.
Pytha, yeah. But so she's really the only one from their side that can verify what kind of happened. Obviously, they all know that Cassius didn't go in
Right.
there to attack him, but I mean, he's partnered with Bologna, and he like needs her in a sense. Like, I mean, he has a
Yeah.
lot of power now, but yeah, I don't know how it necessarily makes sense because I don't. He still now has to go after Atalantia, and I don't know what his move is now. Like, as far as like if he's done the math, like if it's all about like winning, I just don't know how he wins doing what he did. Even if he
I don't
doesn't agree with
either
Darrow.
because to me the problem, like I get it, that's okay. So yeah, let's get into the problem of Lysander killing Cassius. One, on the emotional side, even for dude, I told you way before this happened at the beginning of this book. I hate Lysander. I hate him.
Mm,
Everything that happened to his character throughout this book, I loved. But I told you, I was like, dude, I
mm,
just know it's being set up for him to get a W though, and it's going to be at the
yeah,
expense of the people we love. But I loved every moment of his suffering, dude. I hate that character so much, like, in the best way possible. Like, Pierce has made me
I
hate him so much, dude.
I had a
Which
redemption arc with him, I think, but it's because of Diomedes. Because Diomedes trusted him, I was like, all right, I'm
yeah.
gonna kind of like regain some trust.
Yeah, but it was
But
just
I
when you
got
get
got.
Lysander's POVs, you just know it's like, bro, you're lying to yourself. You are
Yeah.
Octavia. You are this you're just a different, like, version of it, but you're lying to yourself. But so the emotional part, even though I hate him and think he's a sociopath, the emotional part doesn't add up. It's like, how do you kill Cassius like that? But two, to your point, it's like, okay, why did you think it was better for you to face Atlantia without Atlas? Like, you went in knowing you want to kill Atlas and get this genocidal, thing. But I will say the thing that does surprise me is the very end of his last POV, the second to last chapter, he pulls out the red and gold cubes and he says which one of these would Selenius use first. So it does, I don't know what that's going to turn into in Red God, but it does make you wonder, like,
What does he trying to figure out? Is Darrow like which one would kill Darrow?
I don't think so because I mean the point of having that is to be able to wipe out a color on an entire planet. I don't know if he's thinking that just for Darrow's sake. I mean, he might be. Maybe that's a good
I
point. I
feel like
didn't think
that's
about it that
this.
way at all, to be honest.
I don't know why that's all the only thing I thought about was because it just seems like a vendetta against Darrow for some reason. Which I get it because
Yeah.
he killed his mom, but he also saved him, and that was like the conversation with Cassius where it's like Cassius talks about how like yeah, Darrow killed like almost all of my family and he's still my best friend. Like you have to kind of let things
Yeah.
go and move on and
But
it's
it's
like, bro,
crazy. It is wild though what Pierce Brown is kind of doing there, where it's like you see a bunch of stories in this book where people are having to forgive other people that have killed people they love. And then we see Cassius die, and we're like, bro, Lysander better die. Like, I don't care what happens, Lysander
yeah.
better die. And so it's kind of cool what Pierce Brown is doing in that way.
Yeah, that's true. I just
But
it just it I don't know. I'm trying to. I know you talked about how you're like, all right, because Darrow, Severo, and Cassius are now back, and it's like that none of them, like someone has to die. So
I
it's
knew
like,
it,
who's
bro.
gonna
Like,
die,
there's no
Severo or
way.
Cassius? Because Darrow's not dying.
Yeah.
Like in my review that I put on Goodreads, the only person who doesn't have plot armor is Darrow. Like no one has plot armor in quotations except Darrow. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have hurt worse for Severo to die. Honestly, I think I would have rather Severo die, which sounds like tough because that would have still hurt bad, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I get what you're saying, but what's the thing about Severo that, like, I'm glad he's alive, and I understand why you're kind of like he might be out of things to do for Cassius, is because Severo like has like a family back home. Like Cassius
Yeah,
doesn't really have anything tying him down. So as a like I could understand Pierce having less to do with him. So it makes sense to give him a good death and it,
true.
adds to the plot. Whereas Severo's trying to get back, dude. I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but I feel like Severo, I don't know, maybe it would just be Victra. I would bet
See,
my
if
life
Severo
Darrow
died,
dies
dude,
in Red God.
Victro would. I mean, She's a
Oh, yeah, she go
problem, dude.
crazy. But I'm
She's
thinking of,
a
like, in the future in Red God, like,
yeah.
Darrow's definitely dying, in my opinion. There's no way he lives through
Pax
this.
has to take the mantle.
But also Severo, I sometimes wonder if, like, Severo will be the one who lives, like, of all, like
Yeah.
I mean, it's just him and Darrow left really at this point, but I feel like Severo and Victor are gonna get there happily ever after, and Darrow's gonna die, Virginia might die, and Pax is gonna end up taking up the
Oh,
mantle.
no.
I mean, not as a
So the
child
whole
emperor or
family gets
something, but
wiped out, but Pax is the only one
Pax
left,
is
you
just
think?
like, um
Thunder.
so anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Anything else to say about Cassius? I mean, that was definitely the toughest moment of the book. So much build up to it, dude, of Cassius just growing so much as a character.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is make up for his past mistakes. It's like, bro. The part where Darrow tells him that they're brothers and Cassius is
Mm,
just so happy. Like,
yeah.
oh, dude.
When he provides the comedic relief, I mean, Severo can
Yeah.
sometimes too, but it's in a different way. Um, and I will say he kind of made me like Lyria a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
and so now
You
it's
like
like
her through him.
now I just don't really. I mean, to like kind of segue into talking about other stuff. I mean, obviously the Lyria chapters were still my least favorite, and I don't like that she doesn't have the um whatever it's
Yeah,
called,
that was
figment
weird. That was weird that that just went nowhere. It now at this point, looking back, it feels like it was just a way to get her
to
into the
Quicksilver.
story with Cassius.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Quicksilver, because it's like, what was that for? Like, they didn't use it for anything
Yeah.
beneficial, and now we
Which
don't know what it
which
does.
that's why it made me feel like she still has it. And, like, somehow Quicksilver is, like, now using her as, like, a spy, like, in a
Mm,
sense without
yeah,
her
there could
knowing
be
it.
more going on there, yeah.
Um,
I feel
and
like this last book's gotta be 12,000 pages, dude. How is he gonna wrap all this stuff up?
dude,
Like
I don't know. There's so many storylines too, but the thing is like you say that, how is he gonna wrap this up? And then to, like, bounce to something else. The way Ajax dies, it's like, so he's dead now? Like, what just happened? He's
oh, yeah, you
alive
just see it,
and
like,
then
on a
dead.
recording. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have his head. It's like, all right, well, I guess he is dead. Like, you
Yeah, and there's
know,
also dude, there's some weird things he did in this book, and that scene is one of them. We're led to believe that it's Thraxa, but why would she have been covered up in a cloak like that? That makes me think someone else was there, and that someone either on Lysander's side or something is not actually on his side. That's another thing, but, like,
I didn't
oh,
fully
there's one thing I
comprehend what
missed.
Victra did. Like, I just all of a sudden Victra was there. Like, I knew she had kind of won her little skirmish with the
Yeah, she
ships,
just hit an
but
iron rain out of nowhere and started
yeah,
shooting him from behind,
which they
I
were kind
think.
of surrounded, and so that was why I don't know. Which I mean, it gave me more respect for Victra, which I already had, but
Yeah, dude, she's so great. I love her. I hope
she's
we
a
get more of
savage.
her in Virginia in the last. That's why I'm saying I hope this book is
Yeah,
long because I want to get POVs of all these people. Like, we don't have to have a POV of Victra, but I want a lot of Virginia and Victra interactions and hopefully
yeah.
Severo as well. But I'm sure none of these people are going to see their loved ones ever again. So what does it matter,
Yeah,
dude?
I mean,
Um,
that was I hated I mean, it made sense because it creates the whole second half of the book, but, like, the last Virginia chapter you get is her talking to Darrow, basically saying, "You can't come back here," and, like, "We
yeah.
can't win if you're here," and I'm like, first of all, how does she know that? Because she doesn't know everything the other side's gonna do, and it's like, they end up leaving. Well, if Darrow would've come back, you're telling me he couldn't have figured something out to recapture and maybe kill Apollyonis? Like, at least,
Yeah, but
obviously,
they just didn't
I'm going
know
off
that.
on
Yeah,
tangents, but it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, it's like, let that man come home. You did not
yeah,
send him help, okay? So, bring
yeah.
him back, let him have some comfort, and he's like but the whole arc of, "Well, no, I'm gonna trust Virginia and not myself," like, this is, I guess, nice to see growth, but I don't know,
Yeah. I liked it,
that seemed
when it
weak.
started unfolding, I was like, "Bruh, of course, dude." Like, of course they're not
Severo's
about to
like,
see each other. Severus in the back, like he's like, "Bruh."
"Oh my god."
It's like, "Why are y'all like this?" It's like, "Do y'all not like your kids?" Like, "Can I please go see my wife?"
And it's so wild from him, of all people,
Oh,
it's like
yeah, it is.
to be the family man guy, but him
Ugh.
to segue back to Severo and crew. I mean, the whole like Athena arc where it's like, wait, did they just get savaged again when they
Oh,
get
yeah.
captured and it's like they're gonna die again, which it's like the only thing that's tough is with reading it so late in the series and knowing that there's another book, it's like, so Darrow can't die. I don't know how he gets out of this, but it's like there would be more
Yeah.
pressure if I read this as soon as it came out, and it's like, oh, Darrow could die here. I mean, even though you probably know he's not, but
No, I
I still don't know
agree.
how they're going to come into play, the daughters of Ares or whatever.
And I
They
wonder if they
just,
will at this point. Why I feel like some stuff maybe in the Rim we're not gonna see much more of.
yeah,
And it's at the end gonna be tied off with like, oh, it's getting better out there and Athena's taking care of things, whatever. I feel like it's all gonna be the trip back to Mars and then the battle for, or it might even start with them being back, or close to
yeah.
Mars, I feel like.
I hope we
But
don't get
think
a
about
lot
it,
of,
bro. We've got Atlantia, Apollonius, the Jackal clone's still out
we haven't
there.
even talked about that. Yeah.
Lysander's supposed to be the big bad of all of them, apparently. I mean, I
You
would
still have
assume because 'cause we've been
Volga
getting his
or
POV.
whatever her name is.
Still got Volga out there. It's
You
like,
got the
bro,
Rim.
how does this end? Like,
I don't know. I don't really want to see much of Volga next book. Like the whole, we haven't even talked about it, but obviously, which you texted me what I also thought when I was reading it until you get to the next chapter and you're like, wait, Atlas is not Ra or
yeah,
or
that was
Fa.
so confusing, dude. And it's
I definitely
part of it's
thought
my
that was the
fault because I
case,
was
but
reading too fast. But
I
yeah.
was, yeah, I mean, but it's hard not to because you're like,
Yeah.
like just going. I mean, dude,
Like,
it's
what's
so
going on?
hard for my eyes not to skip down when I'm reading,
Oh,
especially when I
yeah.
see like the end of a chapter coming. My eyes are like, I just want to
What's the
see because,
last
dude,
sentence?
he always ends chapters on just for the most part something wild, and then
Yeah.
he'll kind of go somewhere else normally to leave you kind of hanging. So it's
It's like
like,
the end of every chapter is like, and then everything changes. It's like, okay. Like, all right.
and to start the book off too, which well, we're bouncing around a lot now, but the to go back, I guess we'll finish what we're talking about and then we'll go back. But that was, did you like that? Did you like Atlas being, I mean, obviously Fa was technically someone else, but I mean, it was still Atlas pulling the strings, obviously.
I liked Atlas. I liked Atlas's involvement. What I didn't love is that Volsung Fa is still definitely like the ultimate badass or whatever. But he does kind of get brought down a peg. Like you find out he's just using a voice changer and
Yeah,
like
the
he
voice
doesn't
changer was
actually
tough.
want to be there. He's just doing it as part of Atlas's plan. So that was a little, I don't know, I always struggle with that. Like I think it's not bad writing to me, quote unquote, but it's not what I would have liked to have seen. And maybe this is just like the like wood-headed, dummy in me, but like I would have rather have seen a more like legitimate version of Fa being beaten by Darrow rather than a guy who we know doesn't actually want to be there. He doesn't want to have to fight Darrow. He's just thinking about sipping, what are they called? The drinks you drink on the beach. I don't
Margaritas or
know.
something.
A margarita. He's just thinking about sipping drinks on the beach is what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
at. So, whereas, Fa had been set up as a guy who just wants to seemingly just take over the galaxy or destroy it, whatever. Very violent and all that. So, I liked Atlas's involvement for sure. I mean, that whole scene's
I
terrifying, bro. When you find out, like when Lysander realizes it's Atlas, you're like,
yeah. Or
like
he
who
realized
could
something's
beat
going
Atlas,
on, and
dude?
what is it,
Like
Hilo or whatever his name is? I mean, he gets shot.
Helios.
So he's alive, right?
No, he was, but Atlas kills him like back in that room with Lysander. When Lysander comes to see Atlas after all that happens, and Atlas is sitting there with no arms, like getting repaired and stuff.
Yeah.
Helios is like on a bed in the corner, hooked up to stuff, and then they finally let him die.
Oh, okay. I missed that part, I guess, too. I mean, same with the whole
Yeah.
Jackal thing. I thought, oh, he's dead. I mean, it's just there's so many characters and so many things happen. I guess he does confirm kills a lot, but sometimes too, if you're not paying attention, it's like, all right, so are they alive or dead? I
Oh
don't know,
yeah,
because things
for
happen
sure.
so quick. Like someone is just dead. They're all of a sudden just dead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, but no, I liked Atlas being the. I like that whole thing. I don't like that Atlas is dead now. Like now, I
I
wish
don't
he
either,
was.
man.
Like I like that Cassius kills him, and then that whole like, I mean, what is it? He who conquered fear. What is it? He who killed fear, or something. Whatever the line is that they
The
give.
man who killed fear.
The man who killed fear. I mean, obviously that's like.
That's
you know,
so
that
sick.
hits. That's
And I
such a
again,
good
I
line.
love it for Cassius, but I agree with you. I don't love it for the story that Atlas is dead.
Yeah, because Atlas the whole time, I don't know if you had this vibe, he was a problem. It's like, can he be killed? It, like,
I
makes
know.
you
That's what
feel
I
like once you
know.
find out that
Yeah.
he's fought, it's like, so who's gonna stop him? Because
Yeah.
he's everywhere and he seems to be way ahead of everybody. Because he's already a problem, like we had talked about too, when they're at that, you know, kind of Congress thing, um, that Atalante is at the head of and Bologna is like leading or whatever, and they all look up or well, I guess Cassius looks up and it's kind of Atlas just chilling at the top with his
Lysander, yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Lysander's just chilling up there. Or Atlas, Lysander sees Atlas, but and it's like the whole, hey, let's
Yeah.
all remember, you know, who's that guy
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, what? But yeah, so him being dead is kind of tough because he, you know, he's very much the guy in this book. Him and Diomedes, their characters like matter so much more
I
throughout
would
this
agree.
book.
And he felt
So
like the biggest problem as a villain. Whereas I'll be
yeah,
honest, dude, Lysander is only ever winning because he's like a dishonorable little twerp. Like, he just keeps tricking and lying to people. Like,
yeah.
he's not actually smarter than anybody. Like, he's definitely not stronger, doesn't have more prowess than anybody. He just keeps tricking people, bro. He used Cassius, the Morning Knight, the arguably the best swordsman in this series that we've seen.
Which is
He
proven
uses
because he
him to
beats
kill
Atlas.
Atlas. Yeah. Use him to kill Atlas and then just slugs him 16 times with his gun, kills another swordsman who would have bodied him with a gun, Alexander and now Cassius. And
You
it's
forget
just,
about the Alexander one.
dude, I don't. I never will. I hate Lysander, but dude, I hate him more than Moash. I swear to God, I hate him more than Moash.
I mean, yeah, at this
Like,
point,
no questions
like
asked.
you said, now if I'm gonna believe in Pierce and why he's writing him, so like it's the final confirmation of so Lysander. I mean, it's you've always thought he was a bad guy, but it's like maybe he is honorable. Like this, that
Yeah.
last little hope of maybe he is honorable. He just
Mhm.
absolutely crushes, and it's like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna literally use a genetic bomb to do God knows what with, and it's
Yeah.
like,
And it is crazy the way Pierce accomplishes, because you're right, dude. There are definitely like when Diomedes first starts talking with Darrow and Lysander and trying to get them to come to like the triumvirate, I was like, oh dude, like Pierce is doing like a who were they? Caesar and Mark Antony and somebody else. No,
oh
Caesar
yeah,
and Pompey and Mark Antony, I think. Is that what it was? The triumvirate.
yeah,
I was like, "Oh, dude, he's setting this up." I was like, "Wait, is this what's gonna happen? Is book 7 gonna be this thing where, like, it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and, like, they go beat
yeah.
Atlantia, and then they end up fight?" No, dude, Lysander's gonna screw it all up and kill Cassius. Like, I actually believed it for a second because
I
Pierce
did too.
has set up these moments where it seems like Lysander wants to be a good guy, and there are moments, but you realize in this book, dude, that he is lying to himself, that you have an
Yeah,
unreliable narrator when you are reading his POV. He is a
yeah.
sociopathic little twerp, bro, and I genuinely hope that Darrow curb stomps him in the 7th book. I hope he has the
Dude,
worst death possible.
something that we don't get that
I
was
don't
really
care about
cool in
what
Dark
Pierce is trying to
Age.
teach us about forgiveness. I don't care.
I learned it with Cassius.
Yeah.
What you don't get though is that whole mind's eye thing. He uses it like a little bit, but like not
Mhm.
really, you know. And that's like one of the coolest parts about him. But the thing too is he has no one now. Now that Pytha or however you say her name, she was
Yeah, dude,
kind of
I
the
love
last of
that for
his.
her.
Yeah, that she's like,
She was like, "If I see
what?
you again, I'll kill you." Yeah.
Yeah, and the only
He has
person he now
Kyber.
has
That's
is
pretty much it.
Kyber, but she kind of did she even exist in Dark Age? She might have been mentioned, but I don't remember
I
her.
don't think so. I don't remember her.
But
But he
I
also
will.
and he's got Cicero, maybe. I wonder if Cicero is really on his side because you remember Cicero watching
Oh, he was
the
pissed. Which
gardeners at the end?
yeah, um,
That
which
was a
I
really good scene.
at the beginning I couldn't tell if he was. So he's from Mercury, right?
Oh, dude, don't start asking me those kind of questions.
See, this is what I was like saying halfway through reading this book. I was like, so this is our solar system? And I'm like, wow. I mean, I knew it was, but I don't know,
Yeah.
dude.
You're like, "So
Conceptualizing
it's
where they
really
are
our
in the
solar system?"
galaxy was so tough for me to do, like, basically
Yeah.
for the first 5 books, and for some reason,
Speaking of
something
Cicero,
clicked.
look at that. That's Cicero right
There
there.
he is. Oh, CLO. And then Augustus
Rome's
right
greatest
beside him.
statement. Yeah, then Nero and
Man, look,
Hadrian.
dude. I love that he does that too, by the way. But
Oh, yeah, me too.
something clicked with this book, especially with the rim. It's like, oh, so they're like they're going to the, if I'm looking at the galaxy, like Earth is the center, and then East is like, it clicked for me that's like, okay, Earth is the center, which is technically Mars, which is the next, which is west of Earth, which I know that's not how it works, but then I'm like, oh, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
going far east. The rim is far east, whereas
Right.
where they just were that they couldn't get help to for some reason was Mercury, which is further away from Earth, like one more to the sun. It's like
Yeah.
that's how I'm having to view it. So it's like, so Mercury to the rim is the farthest it can be.
Hmm.
So whereas Earth, where it seems like Atalantia is like setting stuff up, is Mars, Earth, Mercury. So I'm like, all right. It finally kind of clicked and it made a little more sense. Not that it even mattered because
Yeah,
I'm
because she
holding
was
on for the
going to
ride.
get Mercury, right? That was where she went? Atlantia? Was it
So
Mercury she wanted?
Well, so Mercury is where Darrow just savage. I mean, he does the whole
But, yeah,
like
but
that's
she's
Dark Age.
saying like, at the beginning of the
Or
book, she's saying she wants to go there before going to Mars, right? Is it Mercury or
no, she wants to go to
is
the
it
moon.
Nep
She wants to go Luna, which is I think Earth's moon, right?
was it
Because
Luna? Okay, I can't
that's
remember.
where Lysander's from. Technically, he's
Yeah, yeah.
Lunese or whatever. So
Owloon.
yeah, so that which makes sense because she's on Earth, and her doing whatever in Africa with that
Yeah,
whole
she's in
scene that she
Africa.
has. And my fault. And oh
Conquer
man.
these evil conquerors always find their way to Africa, dude. I mean, every
Oh
time.
man. Every time. Poor Africa, man.
Dude.
But I will say Gilastries or however you say his name. I mean,
Glorastes, that was one of the worst names in the book. It's like, bro, what is this? His name
you
looks like toothpaste. Like, what is this name?
oh Colgate here. I feel
Like,
like you think first scene with Lysander, he's wearing some new orange boots. That because Atalantia is like, all right, I'm gonna send you
oh
those
yeah,
boots or whatever after he betrays her. See, that's what sucks, dude. Is Lysander? That scene was cool to me. It's like, all right, he has a backbone. He's gonna stick up to her
yeah,
and do his thing instead of trying to find another thing. But then you realize, no, he's just worming around for his own because he wants the
yeah,
morning share. And it's like, all right,
yeah.
whatever, dude.
You just realize that he wants it, and it's exposed in that conversation too between Diomedes, Darrow, and Lysander. Like it's like, oh, dude, he really just wants like Darrow. Like I was worried what Darrow was going to do, but Darrow very quickly is like, you know what? Yeah,
Dude, Darrow
this
is
is
not a
right.
bad guy. The longer you
Like
read
he's
this
just
book,
not. Yeah,
he's killed billions. All right, we get that. All right,
not a
but
bad,
look,
not a bad guy.
not a bad
Dude,
guy.
we've all strayed and killed a few billion. At least once in our lives.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. This book did kind of open my eyes up to, and I read that one podcast, I listened to that one podcast on just Tom Holland's view on how Christianity's impacted like our view on morality, regardless if you
Mm,
believe it's true or not. And like you kind of get that same dynamic too, where it's like so what is right and wrong, honestly, because
yeah.
Darrow is fighting for the elimination of all castes, but the unfortunate like reality is that when you do that, it takes a long time and a lot of hard work because there's so much infighting. Then you have everyone just trying to eradicate the gammas within the reds. I mean,
Yeah.
everything just breaks down. And so like there's like a moment when Darrow is talking to Gaia, Diomedes' grandmother. I think her name's
Gaia, yeah.
Gaia, and she's like basically making unfortunately a pretty good argument for why like there does need to be some sort of caste system.
Right.
And you know
Yeah,
it's
she
it's
does.
kind of
She makes a
this.
compelling argument, and you're
And
like,
I was like,
"Am I a totalitarian?"
but what's crazy is Lysander, I don't that's the only smoke and daggers that I think Pierce does is I still don't like we know what Lysander wants, which is to solidify gold. But I don't know how he justifies it, Like, she justified it, and it's like, okay, even
So
if
I'm
I don't
telling you,
agree
man,
with
he's an
you.
unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
Like, he's just lying to himself. He says he wants to be something, but when it comes time to do it, what and I shouldn't even say that completely. There are moments like he saves Diomedes' life, when they're being taken over by Atlas
Yeah.
on the ship and everything. So he definitely has his moments and like he wants to take like he definitely has those. Even when he sees some reds sometimes, it seems like he has a newfound like respect and appreciation. But at the end of the day, dude, he wants the morning chair more than anything else. So
Yeah.
everything else that he's using as like his supposed modus operandi is a lie. He just wants the morning chair.
Yeah.
And
I hope
that's why whenever
Apollonius
he
feels
goes
it.
into the mind's eye, that's what he's looking for, bro. That's
Yeah.
every what he's searching for is, am I on the chair? All right, yeah, I'll do this. Like, okay. Um,
See, and I
yeah, he
guess
sucks.
that's why, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to have a good villain, and I think Atalantia is a pretty good one, and then so Apollonius can be as well because he seems complex. Like even though he's a
Yeah,
savage, like he's one of my favorite characters,
yeah, he's one of the best.
and I guess
He to me is the best villain left.
yeah, because
Unless
he's
we get more of the Jackal clone and the Jackal clone ends up being kinda sick, which could happen.
it could happen, but that dude, I swear
But
to
the best
God,
was Atlas, man. It's like, bro, why did you get rid of Atlas?
yeah,
Like,
Atlas. Because it felt like he was everywhere, which was the same vibe
yeah,
that Apollonius has in, I guess, Iron Gold
yeah,
or is it Dark
I
Age, where
think.
he's like invisible and
Oh, that was
like,
Dark Age, yeah.
and he's just checking in on Lysander every now and then.
He's just
Um,
watching the whole time what goes
yeah,
on.
and it's like, what? What? What a savage. But anyway, the Gorgons, I kind of realized, like, all right, they're definitely, which is Atlas's group, they are the biggest problem. And again, they're
Yeah,
the ones who the whole reason Lysander even gets caught is because they literally impale people alive as like to to do what they did that caught Lysander to get people to come and help, and then they're just, I mean, the Gorgons are a
oh,
different
yeah, I
level.
forgot about that.
Which
I
which
totally forgot about that.
well, and then the first like oh my god moment of this book was when Lysander does the whole thing. They get Lightbringer up like into the air, celebration feast or whatever. And is it Thasus or Thrasus? I can't.
Thrasus,
Apollonious's
yeah,
brother.
mhm,
What they do to him, man, and then what they make old Colgate
yeah,
Galastries do, bro. They literally, I mean, they savage him and then they put him in that cage and a bird like or some sort of creature like rips him to shreds.
yeah.
And then they essentially like make him into like a mush and then they make Lysander carry around this bowl that is
Yeah,
his
that has his head
remains.
in it. What it is and that the bowl was put over his head so the bird couldn't get to its
Oh,
head.
that's right.
So
But
he's just
then I
carrying
think
around its head in the bowl.
but then they also have like a soup of him. Like they literally make his remains
They
into
got
a soup,
Thras's soup, bro, on the menu.
which they make him eat, which is insane. So
It's so nasty.
anyway,
Like, bro, y'all are
I mean,
sick.
dude.
These people are freaking
But
sick.
Apollonius, dude, he is not gonna. If we're making predictions now, dude, the only reason. So he's definitely on Lysander's side. If we're talking about sides between who does Atalantia still have now? That's a problem. And it's
I feel
like
like
I don't really
Atlantia
know. She has her own army, but you know what I mean? Who's left that she has? Because Ajax left her and he's dead.
yeah,
Atlas was her main incredible problem when
yeah,
she was doing his own thing underneath her, but
right.
she doesn't really have Bologna. I mean, if anything, I don't know who they'll align with. I'm assuming it's with Lysander. It's just I'm not really sure how this is all going to mix up. I mean, but he has a bomb that can somehow kill an entire thing. I
Right.
already see the formulation of he's whatever one he uses. Somehow it's not going to kill Darrow because he's been carved into something else. Like I can see him. He can't use gold, right? Because then it kills. I mean,
I could
maybe he
see
does.
both
I don't
ways.
know.
I could see him using gold to wipe out the golds who are traitorous in his eyes. I could see him just wiping out red. I can't see him wiping out red anywhere because then the golds there that are allied with red are just going to be a problem for him.
They
So
also
I feel
need
like he would
reds.
take out the stronger class, like that could actually defeat him. Um,
True.
Whereas reds
So
probably can't do that without any golds.
but just to clarify, he cares about no one now, right? There's no one left alive in this universe that like could sway Lysander away, right?
I mean, I would
because
think not.
it was Cassius and then I guess Pytha, but she's on the other side
Pytha,
now.
maybe Diomedes later, like,
True.
if he
It's like, who does
regrets
he care
that.
about? If like they have a gun to their head and like, hey, you got to change your ways or we'll kill this guy. Like,
Oh,
there's
no
no
one,
one,
dude.
right? Yeah.
No one, bro. There's no
So
leverage over Lysander.
that's a scary place. Because I don't know how. I don't know. He's gonna die swinging for sure, right? Or he's gonna try and do. I bet he dies
I hope he dies
in a
with his
bad way.
mouth on a curb.
But do you think he dies like he's not gonna die honorably, right? Like, surely he dies like, oh no, actually, I'll work with you guys. Like, he's gonna
Yeah,
try
dude,
and
I hope
weasel
he
his way
dies
out
like
like that.
crying with snot coming out of his nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, dude, I hope he
Don't do
doesn't
this.
die, bro. I hope they string him up and torture him for years, bro.
They hit
Like, I
what they
hope
hit with
it's the
Darrow. What the
worst
Jackal
ever.
did to Darrow was
Yeah, bro, put
brutal.
him in a box for a year.
Underneath where you guys all hang out.
Like, bro,
Mm.
can't stand that guy. But trying to think, we didn't talk much about Severo. I mean, obviously him finding out about Ulysses. I mean, dude, we never talked about these other books, but that was so tough for me in that book. Like,
That was
bro, there's a
brutal.
character named Ulysses. He's
And they
dead.
crucified him to a tree
I mean, nailed a baby
immediately.
to a tree. It was just like, and that's one of those crazy parts of this whole series that's like, it's such a big moment for Victra and Severo's characters, but it's done by Harmony, bro. And like, she's dead now. It's like
Yeah.
there's no recompense. Not that it would be good for their characters to go get revenge, obviously, but it's just this world is so savage, bro. And Pierce is so good at keeping it that
That
way.
was
And
a
like you
literal
said, all
side
the
quest.
infighting, like, is just crazy. I'm trying to think. So Severo was great though. I mean,
They have that fight between Cassius and Severo on the ship, and then it was
yeah.
kind of cool to see them kind of come together in the most Severo way possible.
Yeah, they basically became boys at the end. You know, Severo was upset about Cassius being gone.
I mean, the best moment
I
in this
do
book we haven't even talked about, at least to me.
what?
I saw a review, dude, and I was like, why didn't I put that in there? And it was like someone put clang, clang, clang. Dude,
Oh yeah, dude.
that was the coolest thing I've
So
read in a
good.
long time. Even though, like you said, like you wish maybe Fall could have been something different, but I mean, it was
Mm-mm.
still. I mean, I saw
Like,
it
it was
coming
still
from
so
early
good.
on because Pierce does at least a good job of sprinkling in the foreshadowing to make things make sense. And like the whole
Mhm.
spike, it makes sense as to why he's won so many. I mean, obviously he's Fa that is like strong and whatnot, but the whole venom or whatever, the poison.
Yeah.
So him having that kind of evens it out, but then him also formulating whatever new, you know, the wind of the rock or something. That was cool too. But yeah, that whole scene and how it takes multiple chapters and essentially he just embarrasses Fa was,
Mhm.
I don't know. That was personally my favorite part
Yeah.
of the book. Because it's like, dude,
Yeah, that's
Hail
definitely
Reaper,
a
bro.
top
You
moment.
start doubting Darrow for a second and you're like, no, he is that guy, dude. He's literally
Yeah.
that guy.
You know, it was one of my favorite moments of the book, dude, because it was something that was really nice to see. I knew Pierce wasn't gonna let it go, but you see it's part of Darrow's character growth. Um, is when Athena gives him that cube with all of the sons of Ares that died in the rim after he gave them up, and he's watching all of them, and he was like, a lot of them scream a name when they die. He was like, "It wasn't Athena's, it wasn't Eo's, it was mine." And I was like, "Dude, that is
Mm.
so heavy, bro." Like he sold those people out, got them killed to as a shortcut to try to get a good deal. And so that was a really impactful moment for me. Was Darrow seeing like, dude, not only did I sell these people out, but they died with my name on their lips.
Mhm.
Like Hail Reaper. Like, that's what they said when they died. Um, so that was a crazy part. I definitely agree. That was probably the best part of the book. You're probably right. Is the clang, 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 confess. That whole scene was great, dude. Like the way the tide turns against Fa, and you do love to see it for sure. And to be clear, I still like the Vagnar character that he truly is because he still did all those terrible things. So he is still that
Yeah.
villain and that guy. And he's working with Atlas, who we know is a terrible person.
But it
So
also makes sense, dude, because he and
yeah,
Atlas were essentially sent out to
it
conquer
does for
all these
sure.
pirates of the Rim, which they saw as like them just being discarded. So like there is still like the motivation makes sense to me for both of them.
Yeah. Trying to think of other like top moments in the book.
We
Oh,
haven't
dude,
talked
I
about
mean
Virginia.
Virginia,
Yeah.
dude. Even though I do wish I got more, but it makes sense when you have this many characters. I think it's better to do this. You got this
Yeah.
many characters, do less to do more, rather than us jumping back to Mars when there's really not much going on.
I thought she was
But
gonna die because I read mostly the physical hardback copy, which does not give you the chapter breakdown like in a table of contents. But on my
mm,
Kindle, where I stole this book online at oceansofpdf.com, which everyone should go
dude,
to.
you gotta
Um,
stop saying that, bro.
dude,
Bro,
it
people
gives you
have
the
no
chapter.
respect.
It gives you the chapter breakdown, so you can look ahead and be like quickly. So who
Mhm.
is the next POVs? And I saw Virginia, and then I scrolled down, and I never saw her again. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh
She
no.
gone. Yeah.
And I
No,
mean,
I
she's
thought it
in a bad
was
place for a long time.
yeah, I mean, she's in a bad place the entire book, basically.
Yeah,
And dude, her scenes are just so good though, bro. How she runs things and like eventually has to get out. And dude, that whole them running from Apollonius and like getting really close to him, I was like, bro, she's about to die.
I
Like
thought for
Darrow's
sure she
about to
was getting
lose his
captured.
wife.
I thought she was getting captured. I didn't think she was going to
I,
die, but I thought she was going to be utilized in a bad way, like in a bad way.
yeah, yeah. Or Victra. I was worried about Victra the whole time too. I was like,
Yeah,
bro, we're gonna stay with Virginia, and then all of a sudden we're gonna see Victra's head on a pike.
that would have been
And
tough.
Sevro's gonna find out about Ulysses, and then 6 months later he's gonna find out about Victra.
Yeah,
Like, it's just but anyway, all the Virginia stuff I really enjoyed. Lyria was definitely the Vinley of this book, no doubt.
yeah.
Some of her stuff was good. I did enjoy, like, most of her chapters, but it wasn't because of her. It was because of the characters she was interacting with. Like,
Yeah.
you're right, dude, Cassius brought her up a peg. Like, he brought her out of the depths and made her a more interesting
I don't care
character.
about her thing with Volga. I do not. For some reason, the
No,
Volga
I don't
thing, I
really
liked Volga
no.
last book, but for some reason, it just, I don't care, dude. I don't care. And I cared about the Obsidians before. Like before with Ephraim and that whole,
Yeah.
that storyline I liked last book. And I did not, I liked the Fa Atlas aspect, but the Volga thing, it could have, it could have not been in the book at all. And I would not have rated this book any lower.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Um, so yeah, I mean, anything else to say about this book or the things that happen? I'm trying to think.
We've said Adelania's name a little bit, but I mean, she also gives zero
Yeah, I mean,
FUCKs
she's
about anyone.
yeah, I mean, she's a crazy bitch for sure. I feel like she's a more one-dimensional villain. Like she's just bad. Like she's just a bad person. Which is again why it sucks that Atlas is gone because it felt like he had way more going on, which he clearly did. Like
I just
this
always
dude
forgot he
had
was from the Rim too.
12 years of a plan, like 15 years of planning
Yeah,
that finally culminated in his death, but it was still sick. But Ajax, I mean, rest in peace that entire family. Like they are just going left and right. Uh Dude, it makes me think back, like, it's so crazy when you read a series like this, you start thinking back to, like, oh, simpler times. Like, dude, I miss Nero, man. What would Nero say to all of these punks if he were alive? You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Which is crazy to say because you hate Nero when he's in the book. Like, you hate him. But then
He's
when
an
he
in
dies, you're
between.
like,
He's in
oh.
between of Lysander and Diomedes' grandma. Like he's somewhere
Mm,
in the middle of
yeah,
those two, I think. As far as
yeah,
like what he believes and what he would be willing to do to get things.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's a
I
middle
agree.
ground that would be able to be established with him for
Yeah,
sure, I think. I mean, it would take a while to get there, but whereas
yeah,
Lysander, you thought the whole thing is you thought.
yeah.
You just thought.
Literally,
You
you
just
thought
you
you thought
thought.
you had it figured out. You thought what was gonna go down. I will say to because we're I guess we're getting close to wrapping up here probably. The biggest dark horse wild card of this whole thing is still the Jackal clone because when the Jackal was around, he was the biggest problem because he was so like sadistic and like so
Yeah.
smart that you just felt like you could never guess what he was doing. I mean, he kills his dad, like, at the end of what's the end of Golden Sun, right? When the whole thing happens,
Yeah.
or is it yeah, yeah, Golden Sun, when they all get super effed up. But so I did find it odd that he was brought back for almost no purpose, like, he didn't really there wasn't a reason why it had to be a clone Jackal that was I get it for Virginia, but I just wonder what his plan is with him, and if he's
Yeah.
just gonna come out of nowhere in the 3rd part of book 7 and just screw like, you're not even gonna think about him, and then all of a sudden, he's gonna come out of
I mean,
nowhere
he
and cut
he
Severo's head
ruined
off,
their
like
democracy. He
yeah.
came in and ruined their democracy with the Day of Roses or whatever it is, where they I
Mhm.
mean, it's it is a sadness to see, but I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense because of who he is, and he's gonna do things in a politically savvy way, yet also extremely, like you said, sadistic way.
yeah,
But yeah, where is he? And where's the girl that brought him back? Where are they? I assume they're still on Mars in an area that they've yet to
yeah, I mean,
recapture, but because
who
not a lot of
knows?
time. The other thing is not a ton of time happened from the beginning of Dark Age to the beginning of Lightbringer. I don't think. I would say maybe a year.
Yeah, I don't think it
You
was too
know?
much time. The big time jump was between Morningstar and Iron Gold, right? I
Yeah.
think. That was the
Mhm.
bigger that was, like, many years, I think. Either way.
They want
What,
to keep the
I
action
mean, any
continuing.
predictions? Anything you think may or may not happen? Anyone who you would want to live or die the most?
I unfortunately think Diomedes dies. I also think because when you got to think about it, so many minor characters are dying. Like the the people who don't have POVs, no one who doesn't have a POV, and even POV characters, they're just not safe, dude. They can be alive 1 second and then they're dead the next. I mean, literally, Diomedes' sister. I was like, oh, so she's gonna end up being a main thing. Dies
Cut in
immediately.
half
He does so much. That's what was crazy, dude. Is Pierce will literally do so much character building for a character and then kill them
and
immediately.
then cut
Like he
them
did
in
that with
half.
her, and he did that with Ajax, dude, where he had a
Yeah.
solid character arc, and then he dies.
Mhm.
So
Oh, dang.
Diomedes has had some
That has to
character
be
arc.
such a good feeling to know you're such a good writer that you can just write up a great character and then kill them right when they get
Yeah,
great. Like, that's serious confidence, I feel like.
I think Apollonius survives somehow. I don't know why. I just do. He just seems like
Mm.
he seems
Like
just
like to the end of Red
like
God.
he's gonna
Yeah.
figure something out to where he's either gonna that doesn't mean he wins, but I think
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
somehow survives where he either
Yeah, I
just
could
goes
see that
off and
for
does his
sure.
own thing. Um, I don't know with the Jackal, it's like surely he dies. Like his
Yeah,
whole
surely.
faction has to die, or else they
Yeah, they
win.
all have to be gone, bro. There cannot be a Jackal clone at the end of this series still
No.
alive. There can't be.
Which I mean, obvious. I think the obvious answer is Atalantia dies, right?
Atlantea's got to die.
Or Atlantia, yeah.
Darrow's dead. I mean,
You
there's
think so?
no way Darrow survives this series. There's no way, dude.
What if he does an Uno reverse? Darrow survives and Pax dies. That'd be
I
tough.
mean, that would be so messed up, bro. That would not be good for that would not be a good end for his character, I don't think.
I mean, do you think he's done after Red God though? Like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
think it's
Red
just
God's the
over?
last book. He's made that
Ever in the Red Rising, like just you don't think he's doing another time jump?
from what he said, it's the last
He
book
said
in the
no.
series. That dude has to wanna write something else, bro.
Maybe. He's young though, dude. So it's like
Yeah, he is
he's
young. I'm
obviously
pretty
not
sure he
done.
said that Red God is the last book of this
He's
series,
just gonna
though.
do something completely different.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I know for a fact. Because yeah, he referred to Lightbringer as the second to last book in the series multiple times.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be the end, and I think Darrow dies because it's like
Yeah, I mean it would make
he
sense if
has
you're gonna
to.
kill him at the end. But
Yeah.
you think
I
he's
hope
gonna
Virginia lives.
sacrifice himself some way, you know?
Yeah. Or it's gonna be well, I almost spoiled something for you.
For
Or
what?
it's gonna be a thing where rather than the character you think is gonna die, it's the friend, and maybe Severo ends up dying,
How
like
are you gonna
giving his
spoil
life
something
for
for
Darrow.
me?
Well, not for this series. I was gonna compare it to another series. I'm not gonna say what it is because it literally spoils like the main thing.
Oh, of Era 2.
I mean,
I already know what it is, unfortunately. No. And what's tough, dude, I almost don't even care. I mean, I care, but not
I mean, I know you
you
don't.
know what I mean?
I just didn't want to ruin that for you,
No, yeah.
but
Or for the viewers
um,
at home. But
yeah,
no, this series, like we both said, I mean, In so many ways, I like it more than Stormlight. Like, I'm not prepared to say I like it
Yeah.
more than Stormlight, but there's so many, like, if we break it down by different parts and compartmentalize, I mean, dude, it wins in not just like one area, like it wins in a couple
Yeah.
areas for me.
Okay, yeah, that's what I would say. It wins in a couple areas. I would say the tone I prefer in the Red
It's more
Rising
adult.
series. Yeah, it's definitely more adult. Um, I would say the world building is obviously better in Stormlight. I prefer the character development in Red Rising to Stormlight
Yeah.
because I don't know, man. It just feels the other big difference here is there's a lot more page count and word count in Stormlight, so there's a lot more room for things to be more fleshed out. So obviously, Pierce Brown gets to things quicker than they happen in Stormlight as far as character development's considered. But I think it works, and I think he does a great job of it. So
I think this series is more digestible to your average like reader because they're not. I mean,
yeah,
this book was almost 700 pages,
mhm,
whereas I
and
mean,
it's
dude,
the
that's
longest one.
yeah. Whereas Stormlight, I mean, it's so much commitment, which I mean, I think everyone should read it for sure, but
Yeah,
there's just no one who's truly bad in Stormlight other than maybe Moash. Like, you know what I mean? There's
yeah,
just not many people. Whereas there are evil people in this, and it's like that's more realistic to me as far as
yeah,
like how real life goes. Because when you know when you look at this top shelf over here behind my right shoulder, there's no compartmentalizing. Like, well, really, they're not. Like, come on, there are horrible people that have lived throughout history, and it's
yeah,
like you got to have those. And so that's
yeah.
what I like what Sanderson does because he, tries to paint a picture that everyone's kind of going through stuff, and you got to look at the details. But I don't know. Some people, it's like,
No, I agree.
well,
Um, I'm trying to think of other comparables. I mean, that is something I've thought about. I don't know where I land yet, but I do wonder if I like this series more than Stormlight. And from things I've heard recently, it makes me wonder if I'm also going to like the Sun Eater series more than Stormlight because I have heard Sun Eater is like amazing. And
really,
that it's yeah, dude, I've been looking into it more and I've not heard one person say like a negative thing about it. Like some people are saying they think it's like gonna take over like the Red Rising and the Stormlight.
so
Like,
you're saying it's a safe bet to buy hardback?
I mean, what better way to spend your money, brother?
I mean, it's art essentially. I'm just trying to make sure I don't make another N.K. Jemisin mistake and buy a whole series for something that's trash. So it's like, if we already know this is going to be good, I'll take the chance and buy hardback.
Why not? So yeah, I think that's about it for Lightbringer. If we missed anything, let us know. Let us know what you thought about Lightbringer and the Red Rising series. If you've read Red Rising as well as Stormlight, as well as Sun Eater or some other popular series, let us know how you compare them all.
I like
We
sci-fi right
are,
now, to be honest.
huh?
I like science, like I like the sci-fi
Yeah, I'm
saga.
enjoying sci-fi. So if you are watching this and you've read some of these other series I'm about to mention, let us know where you think we should go next. We've got the Wheel of Time that we want to get started this year. We've got the Expanse. We've got the Sun Eater series.
I'd like to get all three of those. Like at least, I mean, I know Sun Eater is what, 6 books right now?
Mhm.
That's
And the
doable this
Expanse
year.
is like 14, 12, something like
That
that.
one, that one, I
That's a
don't know.
long haul. We might be
That
reading
and Wheel of
that and
Time,
Wheel of
yeah,
Time for the
well,
next couple years. Yeah.
yeah, which I'm fine with, but I think we could
Mhm.
crush Sun Eater. Just because it seems more like, I mean, honestly, if you really got on it, you could, like, this is also how I compare it to, like, this will be the last thing I say before we wrap this up. Um, like, think about, like, oh, I could go back and reread Red Rising. It's like, oh, I could, if I really locked in, I could do that in 6 weeks. Whereas it's like, all right, yeah,
Yeah.
lock in and reread Stormlight. And it's like, even if I locked in, dude, that's going to take
Yeah,
me,
it's gonna take forever.
yeah. So it's like, we loved that aspect, but it's almost like you read it and then not
You
move
move
on.
on.
But yeah, yeah,
I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I'll definitely reread Stormlight, but when I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
thought about it the other day, it'll probably be 3 years, 2, 3 years before I reread it.
It's one of
I
those,
mean, I
like,
have
you read
so
a
many
chapter or
books to
2 a
read.
day just for fun. You're not, like,
Yeah.
you're not sitting down and that's the only thing you're reading. Because if you are, then you're not reading anything else for 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Um, so yeah, let us know what you think we should read next. We'll be doing some more nonfiction here soon, maybe. I don't know. We might never post again, but thanks for watching. And it's Lit Book Reviews outski.